Hello and welcome back to Staccato Stitches. So today I thought we would talk about sweaters. I've got kind of a little bit of beef with sweaters. I don't actually think I've ever completed one, and today we're going to take a look at some of my works in progress, if you can call it that. Also some fails. There's a lot of fails. I don't know. Sweaters and me, they don't go together. But I want that to change. And so I have finally cast on a sweater today that I really think it's gonna work. So let's take a look at some of the fails first, and then we'll look at what I'm working on right now. First up, we have the Almanac sweater by Tin Can Knits. This was in progress. Well, it still is in progress. I showed this on my previous videos. Here it is again. So it looks like this. I had an issue with the ribbing at the bottom flaring out, and so I did this garter stitch. And it helped a little bit, but I think this whole sweater is destined to be unwound. You know, I started knitting it before I lost 45 pounds, so it's really big. And I realized as I was doing the ribbing and trying it on that I skipped the section with the short rows. And so not only is it too big, it just fits really, really weird. Okay, so I put on my Almanac sweater to show you what it looks like. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. I don't know if I can get my head in the shot, but this is what I'm talking about. First of all, it's got like a ton of ease. Look at all that ease. It doesn't sit flat because I don't have any short rows, and it just, like, look at it. It kind of goes out. It just, I don't know. Like, look at that. It's not good. It's gotta go. So I think I'm just gonna scrap it. I know it's a lot of work. I was really proud of the color work. There's only minimal puckering happening. I was really upset when I made the decision to stop working on this. I just put it in a box for a couple days, and now I'm just like, yeah, even if I did finish it, I'm not gonna wear it. And there's not really anybody I can give it to that would be like, oh yeah, I love this. Maybe, but without short rows, the weird flaring at the bottom, it almost looks like a dress. Like, instead of going in and cinching in a little bit at the ribbing section where the garter stitch is now, it goes out. And so the whole shape of the body goes like this. And I'm pretty sure that's because there isn't any ribbing. I'm sure I could fix it if I ripped it back and did some decreasing and then either did the ribbing again or did the garter stitch, but I'm sick of this sweater. I'm done. I'm done with it. It is going in a pile, and when I have time, I'm going to unravel it and do something else with this yarn. So that is the Almanac sweater by Tin Can Knits, and it is a fail. So while we're talking about Tin Can Knits, I thought I would show you another failed. Well, this one is a cardigan. So this is their Flax. No, it's not. It is not the Flax cardigan. It is the Harvest cardigan. It's already in the process of being unraveled. And the problem that I had with this one was I didn't hit gauge. And so I had less stitches per inch than I needed. And so I chose a size that would give me the actual measurements that I needed. But the problem when that happens is if your row gauge is off, then it doesn't work. So I added a bunch of extra raglan increases, and it fits really weird. And I think it's actually the pattern has a really weird fit anyway. I looked at a lot of the pictures of people that had posted their finished projects, and it just sits really weird in this area, and I didn't like that. So I don't know, I probably have unraveled 6 inches, and then I got tired. But I like this yarn. It's very soft. It's an acrylic yarn. It is Karen Cake's Blossom. They had a sale last year, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna knit a sweater out of this. And so, yeah, this is what it is. I really like the colors. I am alternating between 2 different colorways of this yarn. If you want to know what they are, just leave a comment and I will let you know. Yeah, I might try something again with this, another garment. I would like to. Feels very warm. It does pill a little bit. Well, it hasn't actually pilled yet, but it is fuzzy enough to where it looks like it probably would pill. It's not a huge problem for me. You just shave it off and it's fine. So that is the Harvest Cardigan by Tin Can Knits. Funny how my last fail was also Tin Can Knits. I think, I don't want to say anything bad about them, but I think their patterns and my knitting, it does not work. And you know, the first sweater that I ever cast on, I think I was living in North Carolina at the time, so that must have been 2019. It was the Flax sweater. I mean, that was not their fault at all. I didn't understand raglan increases. I didn't understand really knitting in the round. I didn't even knit a gauge swatch. I just picked a size, and I had the Karen 1 pound yarn and my 5mm needles, and I just went to town. And yeah, it was not good. I think I made it to the armholes and realized that it looked god awful. So that was it. That was the end of that one. These skeins of yarn used to be the body of a sweater, and that sweater was called Southwood. I will pop it up on the screen for you. If you've ever knit it, let me know in the comments if you were successful with it. So I was successful with this sweater. The only problem is I knit it when I weighed 45 pounds more. So it was gigantic. This is all hand-spun sweater. This is all hand-spun yarn. And I have enough to finish it, but I think I'm going to dye it just a dark color first. Because, I mean, look at these colors. I don't know what I was thinking. They look just kind of ugly. Like that yellow and brown and gray. I don't know. It was definitely a vibe. But it was just too big. I liked the fabric it made, so I'm definitely going to try something again in this yarn. But the Southwood sweater, I was like, oh, that it fits. It's a good pattern. It's easy. It's free. So let me try it again in some other yarn. So I have some Nomad yarn. If you don't know Nomad, they sell in bulk, and it's undyed wool so that you can dye it yourself. And I have their Marshmallow DK. I also got Marshmallow Worsted. They are literally the exact same yarn. So I feel a little gypped from that. So Nomad, if anyone's working there that's listening to this, probably not. Why would you be? What gives? I mean, the DK and the worsted, you hold them up together, they are literally the same grist. They knit the same. I've knit swatches in both of them, and they came out exactly the same. They say they're different yardage. I don't have a yardage counter, so I haven't checked that. Yeah, I was a little confused about that. So anyway, I swatched first for the Southwood sweater with the DK yarn, and can you believe I actually got gauge, 4.5 stitches per inch? I feel like that's been my main problem, and why I don't knit more sweaters is I can't ever hit gauge. So how did I hit gauge? Well, I finally dropped the idea that I had in my head for the past year that I wanted to be a continental knitter. Like, get out of my brain. I'm not a continental knitter. I can do it, but, you know, my gauge is so freaking wonky that it's not worth it. It was stressing me out. So I went back to English. My tension is perfect. I hit gauge. My stitches look even. Purls and knits, I don't row out. Everything is just solid. So I was like feeling good about starting the Southwood sweater. So I do the ribbing, the 1x1 ribbing, and then I add short rows. That's another thing that bothered me. In the description on Ravelry, it says, new version now includes short row shaping option. Where? It's not anywhere in the pattern at all. So I remember watching a Wool Needles Hand podcast, and she was talking about short row shaping. And she mentioned a video that helped her from the Unapologetic Knitter here on YouTube. And so I looked at that, and it talked about percentages. There's a 60% to 80% number that you can do to add short rows. I did it. It looked awesome. It worked. And then I was like, wait, the neck hole of the sweater was like this big. And I know that wool will grow as you block it, but I couldn't be like, okay, I'm gonna keep going on this when the neck hole is like this big. It looked like a sweater for my nephew who's 4 years old. So I blocked it and it was better. It fit better. And then what happens? Something happened to where I needed to rip back a few rows. So I pulled out the needle, I put back down a couple rows, got it back on, and then I started knitting again. And I don't know if I went on the wrong side or in the wrong direction. You never know what happens. There was a very clear line where I had put the needle back in. So I was like, maybe that'll block out too. So I just kept knitting maybe 16 more rows, just doing the raglan increases, and it looked really bad. So last night I was like, okay, I'm just gonna block this again. Maybe it'll stretch back out and look okay. It didn't. It was a very clear line. So the line was here. So it wasn't super noticeable, but I just felt so bad about it that I was like, I can't actually keep knitting on this with it looking like this. It's gonna bug me every single time that I wear it. It's gonna I was not proud of it. So I made the decision this morning at like 6:30 a.m. to rip it all out and start something else. So what did I start? Well, let me show you. This is the ribbing for my new sweater. It's using that Nomad DK weight yarn and a 4mm needle. I used a 3.5 for the ribbing. I didn't wash the yarn before, so this is the same yarn that I used in the Southwood sweater, and you can see it's very crinkly. So I'm really, again, I'm upset because look how messy this looks. However, when I stretch it out, everything seems to look okay. So I'm pretty sure that's gonna block out. So what I did was I tied off a little bit of the yarn and I got it wet and I put it in front of a fan. I went to the grocery store and now it is good as new. So that solved that issue. But yeah, it's always something. I've never had just a seamless, smooth, no pun intended, seamless. I've never had a seamless, smooth experience knitting a sweater. So this, I'm following Anne Budd. She is a knit designer. She has a few books. So this is following one of her set-in sleeves patterns that's knit flat from her book, The Knitter's Handy Book of Sweater Patterns. And funniest story about that, I started this exact pattern. Let me just get it. I finished the back panel and it looks like this. Can you guess the problem? Sorry about my table squeaking. So the problem is it's way too big. So I knit this for a 48-inch bust. So I was 46-inch bust when I knit it, so 2 inches of ease. Now, when I measured yesterday, my bust is 40 inches, so that's a big difference. I know there are patterns out there that have, 8, 6, 8, 10 inches of ease, so I might actually finish this one because on the second panel, it's going to be a cardigan actually. So I knit the first panel up to the underarms, and I just need to do the shaping, and then knit the other panel and knit the sleeves. I think I'm gonna do that. I really like this yarn. I think it's called Haydensville. It's a 60% wool, 40% acrylic blend from Webb's. They had a good sale last year, so I bought 16 to 20 skeins of it for like $60. It's super soft. It doesn't seem to have any issues. And the good thing about this book is she gives you a sweater pattern, and then over to the side, the part of this pattern that you follow is dependent on your gauge. So it's like 3 stitches an inch, 4, 5, 6. I think it goes up to 6. I hope that will get done. Back to this one. The problem I'm having now is that my gauge is 4.5 stitches an inch. The pattern only gives you between 4 stitches or 5 stitches. So what I did was I calculated how many more inches that would cause me to have if I knit the 5 stitch an inch pattern. And it turned out to be about 4 inches. So I'm knitting the 38-inch bust to aim for around a 42-inch sweater. Oh, okay. I did all of this morning. I was just like a madman. I just sat in my bed and I cast on and I knit 16 rounds of ribbing, and then I started my first row of the stockinette. I seem to be on track. I have high hopes for this. I really like the look of bottom-up knit sweaters with the seams. I don't mind seaming, and I think I'm just done with in the round top-down. I think I'm just done. I've had too many fails. I've ripped out too many times. I've wasted too much time. And I think I'm done. Unless something is just like, oh, I need to do that. Yes. In this yarn, I tried to do the Pierre Pullover by Stephen West. Gauge was off. Picked a size that kind of worked with what I had. And it looked okay, but I did not enjoy the design. It has a super thick, twisted rib, folded over collar piece, and then it does the short rows, and it just looked a little feminine on me, which is not a terrible thing, but it just, for my style, it's not something I wanted. I also didn't realize how much purling was going to be in that pattern. There's a lot of texture in that pattern, and I was still fairly new and determined to be able to knit continental. So there, you know, my gauge was shifting every few rounds. The purls were looser than the knits. Purling was not super easy, and there were a lot of stitches in the round, like 260. So that turned into the Southwood, which then got frogged, and here we are now. So with that being said, I still haven't finished my pocket square. I'm planning to get that done hopefully today. We'll see how that goes. But I want to show one more thing. While I was looking for this yarn in my closet, I saw this. And I had completely forgotten about this. This is the Painting Rainbows shawl by Stephen West. And I think I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to finish this one little wedge section here, and then I'm going to bind it off. Because I was re-looking at the pattern. This sucker goes up to 1,000 stitches in the bottom rows. Ain't no way I'm going to do that. I feel like I knew that when I started. I was like, oh, it'll be okay. So it'll just be kind of this interesting shaped scarf. I love the colors. It's all merino. None of this, actually some of this is hand spun. There's a couple color pops that are hand spun, which was fun. But I started this over a year ago, and it hasn't been touched in probably 8 months. But I really like it, and I want to wear it, and I think it's beautiful. I also, of course, changed the pattern down here for these little wedges, but it's whatever. It looks good. I like it, and I'm gonna finish it up and cast it off. So that'll be a nice, fun little thing to wear in the winter to keep warm. I think that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.